What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin, John.
And we have an album review, and we're doing some more prog metal because apparently this weekend is loaded with some prog metal. Because we are going to go over the latest offering from Haken, Fauna. This also comes out on the 3rd of March on Inside Out Music. This band formed in 2007 in London, England. This is their 7th album overall. I was a big fan of their last one, Virus, which coincidentally dropped like right before the fucking pandemic.
Yeah, right around this time. In 2020.
We might have Patient Zero right fucking there. But no, seriously, it was a killer fucking album. So was their album Affinity. I was a giant fan of that. Still am a giant fan of that.
Oh, yeah.
And for those that may not be familiar with this band, this is definitely modern prog metal with a lot of classic touches. Like, as much as this band sounds like Dream Theater and Between the Buried Me, it also has a lot of influences they pull from bands like Gentle Giant and Yes, and I would even say like Rush as well. So us being big fans of this band, we were eagerly awaiting this one. Heard a couple of singles, namely the one that stood out to me was Nightingale, and it sounded like Haken. Haken has a very particular sound, I think, in terms of prog metal, in terms of like modern prog. It's, you know, heavy, kind of genty at times, you know, riff-driven, amazing vocals. Ross Jennings, I think, is just an absolutely fantastic vocalist. And some wild, inventive keyboard work. Like,
oh, for sure.
Kind of all over the place in terms of, like, all the different settings they explore, all the different moods. There's a lot of fun key play.
I mean, they do have a keytar. We saw them live.
Yeah, and they put on a killer show. And going into this one, I mean, I kind of had some expectations, like, namely because Virus was such a ripper, and Affinity is still the one I go back to the most. This one is admittedly a little bit different, and it's noticeable right away with the opening track, Taurus. I mean, it sounds like a Meshuggah jam.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, you know, big, bendy, kind of dark and heavy gent riffs.
But still pretty, like Haken does. Haken throws a kind of a magical, well-lit touch on most things they play. Like, even though it's heavy at all times, because the vocals are not ever really harsh, it makes it all sound pretty.
Yeah, and there's some interesting touches in terms of like the sense, the vocal pattern on it. Ross is actually in like a little bit lower register, at least for him on this one, which I thought was like, man, hopefully isn't this like the rest of the album, because I like his range. He's got fantastic range. But they also add like this sort of like skittering kind of like atonal, like kind of bass hit, or maybe a guitar hit, and kind of makes the song a little jarring and weird and fiercely polyrhythmic. And, well, polyrhythms are huge on this.
Yes.
In fact, probably more so than on any other Haken album. Like, this one really kind of latches on to like a Animals as Leaders, Polyphia sort of bounce.
100%. Animals as Leaders, Polyphia, Native Construct, if anybody remembers those guys. This is not so much a riff-driven record. It's more of a vocal performance and a rhythmic performance. Like the bass and drums, Ray Hearn's drum work on here is top notch. I've always thought he was a great drummer, but this is really dialed in on these weird syncopated fucking polyrhythmic beats that are out of this world. Songs like Sempiternal Beings and Eyes of Ebony both have this wonderful fucking funky bass and drum groove throughout.
Like a jazzy swing, lots of ghost notes. Everything's very cleverly accented, and there's like this kind of swing to just a lot of the rhythms. Like, despite being polyrhythmic and technical, and, you know, the accents hitting on different points, and you're like, oh, wait, what? Honestly, you can kind of groove to this a lot. And I do think that's very interesting. But when I go back to Haken, honestly, like, the thing that I really like is that sort of balance between modern prog and classic prog. Like, I hear some of that in songs like Nightingale and Elephants Never Forget, which is the longest track in here, and the big fucking giant, you know, let's go absolutely nuts prog song. Those have, you know, elements, again, of those classic prog bands, but mixed in with this modern sense. And that is where I think this band absolutely shines. But on another hand, the thing that really drew me in on this album are the vocals. Ross, I've always thought, is an awesome vocalist.
Yep.
But with prog metal, generally going for like longer, more lavish instrumental sections, that's just kind of the thing with prog. Sometimes the vocalist kind of gets, you know, it's like, just you take a seat, you know, go wave at the fans or something like that.
Go put on those really cool glasses you have that you wore on 1985. Go put those on and just run around the stage.
Yeah, go rub shoulders with the guitarist while he's doing a lead.
Yep.
The fans like that. Instead, this is a lot more vocally driven, and you hear Ross really just kind of explore his range. Like, he croons a bit more. There's different vocal filters, especially on a song like Beneath the White Rainbow. That song, towards the end, has this sort of proggy fit where he's using some interesting vocal filters where it just sounds like this shouting, insane robot.
Yeah, it sounds like a robot through an envelope filter.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but when he's just using his just clean vocals, like, he's doing an awesome job in here. And again, I've always liked, him in the band as a vocalist, and their blend of like more, harmonies in terms of vocal harmonies, because he's not the only singer in the band. Like, the whole band likes to contribute on vocals. The vocal harmonies are kind of more sparing. Like, it's just sort of like moments versus, on other albums, like, use that a lot more. This one is kind of the Ross show. Yeah,
he's definitely shining. When I think of really good, clean male vocalists in metal bands, you think of Tommy from Between the Buried and Me, or the dude from Leprous. I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name either, but the dude's insanely
that
good.
That dude. And then Ross from Haken. His vocals are insanely good, especially to sing clean, and especially to sing at the higher register that he sings. I mean, it's beautiful. He does such a good job, and he's all over the map, especially in songs like Sempiternal Beings, where it's cool because his vocal cadences play along with this odd groove again from the bass and the drums, but it hits everything in staccato, and it really brings the song alive.
Syncopation is like a huge thing on here, and it's really cool to hear how they do it on so many levels, like guitars, bass, vocals, even the keys. It's really interesting how they keep accenting stuff, and even more entertaining when they kind of go off that rhythm a little bit and kind of keep you guessing as to, like, all right, this cadence is maybe a little bit stranger, especially on Elephants Never Forget. Like, there is a really odd, almost cartoonish sort of like cadence on that, backed by what sounds like maybe a broken video game full of fucking hornets or something. It's, just a very 80s, very old school, and I don't know, kind of like Gent Frogger.
It's the boss level on The Last Starfighter.
Maybe. I don't know. It sounds like Ross was doing pretty well on it, though. But the songs that really threw us off, and good and bad, I don't know. It's really strange to hear.
It's weird because I don't like saying bad things about this band in general, because this band is so fucking talented. But there's some weird things.
The Alphabet of Me and Love Bite. Now, all right, PROG is all about embracing different styles of music, bringing in both, classic influences, new influences, and these two songs are pop songs. They are essentially like the progressive metal equivalent of pop songs. They're not particularly heavy, like they have heavier moments, more like heavy rock moments, but the whole thing is about this sort of poppy presence, like the big vocal hooks, more electronic elements. The synths are definitely different, especially Alphabet of Me.
Yes.
Oh my God. This song is probably one of the most different songs I think they've done.
It's really straightforward in a sense that it is so centric around just like a Poppy's 80 thing. But again, back to the vocals are rapped, and he's spitting bars.
He's spitting bars?
Really.
They're not bad.
No.
Like, he's following a really cool meter, like it's cleverly phrased.
You get some smooth, sleuthy trumpet at the end.
Yeah, a big kind of rocker chorus with a really solid groove, and probably one of the bigger standout riffs, I think, in terms of like a good melodic riff. It's just very jarring and very odd, especially when you like listen to some of the darker, heavier tracks like Beneath the White Rainbow and Taurus. Like, this feels like it's almost kind of separate from the album in general. And this one is like modern pop. Like, there's a lot of elements of like current pop. There's definitely the 80s flourishes. These guys definitely love the 80s. That was very apparent on Affinity. But there's like modern stuff in here, like stuff I would associate with, well, pop artists I don't listen to, but I kind of know the sound. Like, even the production feels like that slick modern pop production. I mean, overall the production here is really good. And PROG, you want more like slick production, more polished. You want to be able to hear everything. So like levels of compression have to be like fucking butthole tight on just about everything.
But I think even the more kind of interesting song is the song Love Bite. It's not as strange as The Alphabet of Me, but it's one of, I think, the happiest, most uplifting things they've ever written.
Yes.
It goes from Meshuggah to 12-Foot Ninja to, like, dude, the guitar solo, I'm telling you, Top Gun. That scene where they're walking back after the victory and yeah. It's a weird placement on the record.
It is. But honestly, it is one of the most ferociously catchy songs that I think they've written.
Yeah, dude, the vocal hook in the chorus is fucking gigantic.
It is. It's huge. And, I mean, they hit, like, every fucking pop note. Like, honestly, it kind of reminded me, again, of, like, just, like, straight up, like, 80s rockers. Like, you know, the big anthemic ones, but also throw in, like, a band like Toto. Toto, you know, solid fucking musicians. Yeah, we all know that song. And probably, like, at least 2 others for sure. But yeah, it kind of has that, and again, this is pop music written by progressive metal musicians, so it isn't as though they're kind of just like dumbing it down for hooks. Like, there's still a lot going on just in terms of like intricate playing and such. But man, in terms of like nailing a hook, like a solid just 80s pop hook, Love Bite is fucking awesome.
Yep, it's right there. It's spot on.
Now, while that is definitely one of my favorites on here, again, I think Nightingale and Elephants Never Forget were probably the ones that were like big standouts, and that is for some reasons that, you know, I wouldn't say I don't like elements of this album, but there are some things missing on here. Nightingale has kind of everything I expect from Haken, like, you know, really cool song structure, lots of cool peaks and valleys, and riffs. And riffs are kind of missing on here. Like, again, this is more vocally driven, more rhythmically driven. So a lot of the riffs kind of go to the gent well a little much.
And really, there's not so many riffs here. Like, riffs appear sparingly. The gent aspect for me, I think, was more of the rhythms, so to speak. Like, there's not a lot of straightforwardness. Not that there's a lot of straightforwardness on any Haken record, but in this case, a lot of these beats are drum and bass, like groove-centric, like jazzy or swingy or all off time, and the guitars end up being more like staccato, you know. The overall vibe, the overall groove just seems to be like a genty thing, and that's not bad. God, I used to be a huge gent fan. Gigantic.
That is true.
But yeah, I mean, it's weird. Even for these guys, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it kind of goes against one of the things that I like about this band the most is their balance. Like, you still get great riffs, you get these cool, like, you know, proggy moments that are more classic, or more modern, or occasionally you'll get, like, you know, some really good genty spots. Gent was kind of like a seasoning before. Like, it was kind of peppered in, and I think gent kind of took over most of the menu because you have songs that are maybe a little too similar. Like, I would say, namely, Island in the Clouds and Eyes of Ebony. Those both are really good. I like the swingy rhythms. They're a little bit softer. The guitar is a little bit more fluttering. But when it comes down to the rhythms, it's, again, that staccato, palm muted. You know, it kind of just follows along with the really cool jazzy drums. And I like that.
Right, which isn't a knock.
But I think it happens too much in here. And this album is kind of missing, like, you know, a token really heavy song. Like, you know, one that really drives. Like, the opening track on Virus is such an ass whooper of a song.
We were jamming that today.
And, you know, it's kind of missing a song like that with, like, some urgency. Because this is kind of chill. Like, kind of, let's just, like, sit down in a groove and kind of hang out and let's see where it takes us. Like, it does have its more intense moments, especially, you know, Elephants Never Forget. Like, it is a wild 11-minute song of all sorts of crazy prog transitions, and you get all the clever hooks that they know how to do, but you also get that sort of wild BT Bam style of, like, just like, hey, let's just see what we can throw in and play with every fucking setting on the keyboards, the guitars. You know, what's the drummer doing? I don't know. A polyrhythm that I can't even fucking figure out.
Right.
You know, I like that. That's super fucking fun. But a lot of this, I don't know, it kind of hangs in one spot. And it's a very familiar spot. It's a fun spot. And I like that this is more vocally driven. But it is missing some key ingredients that make me really love Haken. I've always thought of this band as like a more playful Dream Theater. Like, it's not as dark and serious as maybe like a lot of the themes that seem to pop up on Dream Theater albums. And it's kind of loose, kind of fun. Like, they definitely get dark at times, that's for sure, but there's always some sort of like ray of sunshine or like just like, hey, we're just doing this because it's fun.
Right.
I like that. Actually, kind of comparable to like 12-Foot Ninja, except, you know, in longer form because these guys like to write long, lavish songs. But, I mean, overall on this one, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 stars. I enjoy it. I don't like it as much as like some of my favorites from them, and I think it lays on certain things a little bit too much. Granted, they are good things, they are fun things, they're well employed, but I don't know, like it is missing something from that giant, well of cool Haken ideas that I have heard on other albums. Ross fucking owns on this album. Like, I think this is probably his best vocal performance, and I think a lot of the quieter moments on here really show off, like, his vocal range because it's really out in front. The drum work is fantastic. Like, all the rhythms are fun. It's another fun album. Like, it's another solid album for them. I don't think they have a bad album. This one's just different. It might be more of a grower for me, but overall, I still really enjoy it. I still recommend checking it out. I mean, if you're already a fan of Haken, there's still plenty on here that you will really dig. And if you like stuff like Animals as Leaders, Polyphia, there's definitely plenty on here you're going to dig, so check it out.
I'm with Nick on this one. It's a 3.5. First of all, much like Nick said, I like it. I like Haken. I've always liked Haken. They're an incredibly inventive, unique sounding modern prog band. But I also agree that it's missing a little bit of like the jam that it has. Like, this is so focused on staccato and groove and bass, which isn't bad. I'm a drummer myself. I get it. But it is missing like a lot of the cool riffing, a lot of the cool melodies, and it seems to be just kind of stuck inside the box, like not so much outside the box like these guys normally are, although there are still really awesome prog moments, namely in Elephants Never Forget. It just wasn't what I expected, especially knowing what I know about Haken and being such a big fan of The Virus and Affinity and things like that. It just didn't quite meet the mark in several aspects. It still was super good. It was just missing a little bit more of what I'm akin to. Missing some groove, missing some chunk, some of the things that make Haken songs really powerful. Whereas this was more subdued and relaxed. Again, I like that, but it just was kind of missing something. Again, Ross's vocal performance is fucking top notch. If you like Haken and you like that guy's voice, you're gonna dig the ever-loving shit out of this. The drum work and the bass work is absolutely fantastic. It's almost trance-inducing at times. But overall, it's a 3.5. So, yeah, if you like Haken, definitely give this a whirl. Check it out for yourself. Don't listen to us. Figure it out for yourself.
I mean, all in all, I still had fun listening to it.
Yep.
And, I really don't think there were really a bad track on there. Even Alphabet of Me, which is, again, it's weird. It's weird and totally unexpected, even though they do weird shit.
Yeah.
Was not mentally prepared for that one, but the results for what they were going for were pretty good.
Yep.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you were new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon if you'd like to help us out there. There is a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our store is there. We are eventually going to reload on stuff. It's just, we got a lot of other stuff we're working on, but Patreon link is there, so if you'd like to help us out, that is where to do it. And Denver Death Fest, tell them about it.
Denver Death Fest, I mean, come on, we're, what is it, March now? So we're a little...
34 months away.
Math is hard.
Math are hard.
It's March now. We're about 6 weeks away from Denver Death Fest. I couldn't be more excited. It's been an absolute pleasure to get all this put together. It turns out it's much bigger than we all expected, and that's pretty fucking cool.
That's what she said.
$60 for 3 days. Come on. What are you doing? You want to go see Pyrexia? You want to go see Necrotic Wasteland? You want to go see Cathexis? Want to go see a slew of awesome local performers? Go see Maul? Go see... Man, come on. Come on and have a good time. It's in Denver, for God's sakes. It's been really cool to watch it all come together, and please come out and join us. Have a good time. Have a couple beverages. Enjoy yourself. You're in the mountains. On 420. How much cooler could it get? Thank you to all of our sponsors. I would name them off individually, but the list is growing to be so lengthy that I can't remember them all because I'm a stoner. Thank you to everyone that's been involved. Thank you to Zach at Swinging News Productions. Man, I love you so much. Thank you for helping to put this together. Thank you to our brother Nate and, of course, Miller. And, yeah, Denver Death Fest. Do it up.
And, of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that jazzy shit that keeps this channel going. It is absolutely amazing to do this. I know, say the same shit. It means the same thing. It means I like you. And let's hang out. Maybe, get an apartment together or something. We'll shower separately.
Make bunk beds. You'll have so much more room for activities.
But yeah, no, we are still absolutely blown away. We hit 14,000 subscribers.
Holy shit.
I know, we bucked a lot of odds there because we've been kind of, just kind of skating by on our personality, and that has only worked minimally in my life. So
the fact that this channel continues to grow for as long as we've been on the air is baffling. Like, people are still tuning in and liking us. That's crazy. Weird, because I don't even like us.
Yeah, no.
Well, I don't like him.
I don't like him either.
Cool, so
you seem all right, though.
You're definitely all right, and you in the back, and I see you over there. Come here. You're fucking cool.
Okay, now you creeped him out. He's gonna walk away. Anyway, before we ramble on anymore, because we're serial ramblers, thank you all once again, and we will catch you later.